question that we are discussing today is, can computers think? So, thinking is the critical analyzing of a situation, understanding what the situation means, and coming up with the required comprehension and response. In in clear terms, it's like thinking is when someone presents you with a situation or you're in a situation and you critically analyze what the situation means, you understand to what extent that situation goes, and you come up with the required response. My project is an AI model based on a menstrual tracking system that uses machine learning to identify patterns in data sets, make predictions of when the next cycle will come, provide insights of the possible changes that will happen in the course of the cycle, and the possible recommendations to make the experience better to live in. So this is like our menstrual cycle. It uses machine learning to make predictions, and these predictions come with, sorry, the machine learning works together with algorithms, which which tracks the patterns of a user in terms of the kind of data that they search for and what they are interested in, and using that pattern, it makes the right predictions in the course of working with the user. It improves its predictions, improves the recommendation that it makes to the user. So the menstrual tracking system is data driven, and its accuracy and effectiveness are dependent on the amount and quality of user input data, bringing up the concept of garbage in, garbage out. So for this scenario, it is like when a user puts in the right information, the system will also output the right predictions. So in this case, if the user using the app, because the app is about a user logs in with their information and data, and using that data that the user has logged in, the system will start making the required predictions for the cycle for this user. And in this case, if the user puts in the wrong data in terms of their cycle, the system will also provide the wrong predictions for their cycle. Hence, the menstrual tracking device cannot have a mind of its own. It cannot think of um, like what you give it is what it takes. It's like what you give it is the gospel truth. It will not ask questions but take your wrong information in, and that will also give you the wrong output. The menstrual tracking system is algorithm based in that it takes the data from your usual interests that you search for or are interested in, as the algorithm look for patterns of the user. So as I said before, the menstrual tracking system uses algorithm to track patterns of the user. So this works in a way of a user, when a user prolongly uses the system, it copies that data into patterns. It notices the user's likes and dislikes and their most recent searches using the app, and using that, it will provide the user with the right predictions that the user needs. In this case, if the user is more interested in their safe days, the system will also focus on providing the user with their safe days. Um, the Turing test that was made by Alan Turing, which was evaluating a machine's ability to show intelligence like that of a human. The test focuses on the conversational ability and mimic behavior interaction rather than assessing the true consciousness of a machine. So Alan Turing test, which is basically about how well a computer can convince a human that it is human. So in this way, in this experiment, it proves that most computers will pass this test because they have they have picked up human behavior, and they can perfectly mimic it without someone actually knowing that they are speaking to a computer. So in this case, my AI model can have a chat function where the user can interact with the AI, ask questions, and get the responses that they are more required to get, that are better, sorry, that make the user feel like they are speaking to another human, which is which mimicking behavior is not the same as thinking, because the computer only picks up human behavior and copies that human behavior, but it does not understand the full extent of human behavior. As copying something doesn't mean you understand what you're copying. So with AI, a menstrual tracking system is designed to predict a user's cycle based on the data it has been provided with, but it does not understand what menstruation actually is. So weak AI gets the data from the users and uses that data to predict the user's cycle. But this does not imply that this system understands to what extent menstruation is, as this system is it does not have a body to feel what a female feels during her menstruation, so it doesn't have the full idea of what menstruation actually is. And strong AI wants to imply that a computer understands the full extent of menstruation, which cannot be the case because, as we said for weak AI, computers are they don't have bodies which feel pain or emotions. Hence, cancelling out the aspect of strong AI, since computers cannot feel, hence they can never know the full extent of periods. Intuition and consciousness. So the menstrual tracking system can calculate the chances of possible cycle or possible cycles, considering sometimes it is not always correct. So sometimes the human body changes its cycle and it does not follow a timetabled kind of system. In that, some people's cycles can go for 30 days, other people for 21 days or 28 days. So this system uses probabilities to predict a user's cycle, hence it lacks the consciousness and the intuition that this user will have on their own body. Learning and memorizing. So a computer cannot learn and memorize something, in that a computer only picks information and uses that information, and with that information it uses to do its required functionality. It doesn't work the same way for a human who learns something and memorizes it, as a computer picks up data and keeps that data, and anytime it is asked for a situation in that perspective, it will it will go back to its memory and pick that specific data set and present it. So in this aspect, I feel like computers learn and memorize the same way as humans. So, following the Chinese room argument, which bases on the ability of someone to translate symbols into the right response. So, in this case, following my menstrual tracking system, it will receive data and it will manipulate that data into predictions that are used by the user in terms of tracking their cycle, which is the same as a person in a Chinese room argument who is placed in a room with a rule book and is presented with symbols, and using the rule book that they have, they translate the symbols into something that people can understand, giving the impression that they know what these symbols mean, which in reality is not the case, as someone who has a meaning of something written down doesn't always have to understand the true meaning of what they are translating. The simulation arguments. So, simulation is showing a world that is not a reality. Simulation is not a reality, even though it appears to be a reality. So, chatting with a chat function in the system and and feeling like the chat function understands your emotions and your feelings and what your body is going through doesn't mean it understands the full extent to which your menstruation is going to. It will never understand your emotions and your feelings the same way another human would understand you. So simulation is not the same as reality, which computers have. In my conclusion, computers cannot think, and following the aspects, computers have no true consciousness, but rather solely rely on human knowledge and data to do anything. As we saw from the beginning, the system is data driven, it uses algorithms and machine learning, and using all that, it comes up with the predictions that it needs. But this computer cannot come up with its own perspective of life, its own aspects, as it needs humans to input data. And without that data, these computers cannot think at all on their own. Hence my conclusion that computers cannot think. Um, the second question is, could we ever have computers that can think? And my argument for this as well is no. We will never have computers that can think. As computers today seem to be intelligent as humans and also hold conversations with humans, which is an attitude that is praiseworthy, following they don't have a mind of their own, as seen in my previous question, like I explained. So, following the Chinese argument, well, this system will pick data and manipulate that data into the required predictions does not mean that this system understands the full extent of this data. In case it's the data that is input is the signs and symptoms of periods that include bleeding, that include the cramps, the period cramps, the different mood swings that females experience during this time. This machine can manipulate that data into the right predictions, but it will never understand the full extent of menstruation. So thinking encompasses around awareness, which is not just knowing something, but also having knowledge and understand that something is happening and exists along with a bit of experiencing it. So awareness in something is having knowledge of what the situation means and to what extent it was, and also having a bit of experience in that sector, which a computer doesn't have. Computers don't have awareness of things that are happening around them, but they know that this exists, but they don't know what is happening, and they don't have the full knowledge of that situation. An individual perspective where different humans have a different perspective of different scenarios and they experience emotions differently. Each situation they have been in has stimulated different feelings from different people, which computers can never have, as they don't have a perspective to anything and they take what is presented to them without any kind of point of view on their own. Hence, computers cannot think. Understanding where a person connects information to a lived experience. So, understanding is where you're presented with a situation and you relate it to your past experience and get an insight of the full extent of the situation. As when someone presents you a situation, you relate it to your past experience, and using that, you understand the full situation in which someone is in. So, in my perspective, computers cannot think and will never be able to think. Computers make the right predictions and even answer questions correctly, but following the aspects stated above. Computers are only great with mimicking human behavior, but not thought. The Turing test, the Chinese test, the simulation arguments prove to us that intelligence is not the same as understanding, as true thinking is solely, uniquely human.